because there has been such a strong power structure, such a dominant power structure within the parts of um, America and perhaps even parts in Europe. This power structure has become so powerful to the point where they have taken complete control over the finances, the education, and everything that anybody who resides in America or even resides in Europe are taught to ever believe. And the main reason you will find that colored people struggle to actually adapt to this structure is simply due to the fact that they the way I would put this is there is a lack of gratitude for sure. When you look at something that someone else has and you want it for yourself, you ultimately blind yourself from the things that you should be grateful for. This is what creates the problem. You know, and I can tell you this from even lived experience. You know, when you see black people, they are very quick to admire white lifestyles due to the wealth, due to the power, due to the economy. However, they are also very blind to the fact that sometimes these lifestyles are pursued in parts of the world where they were once upon a time convinced that there is no land, that there is no food, that there is no wealth, and that there is poverty. You will actually find, ironically, that if you look at some of the richest countries in Africa, Nigeria is actually up there with capital wealth amassing to millions. Not only that, but populations actually moving from there, using their accumulated education and actually building something meaningful to themselves in parts of the world where this struggle has been identified as prevalent, and still maintain aspects of culture, of heritage, without actually feeling that there is a need to squeeze in. And this is the main underlying thing that you will find is the difference between a person of color who moves to a white community versus one who has convinced themselves that they can be born, raised, and indoctrinated by that community. That there is a degree of just being able to have that security. Right, the colored people you will find are extremely insecure about everything that has been taught as far as this goes. Whereas if you try to teach those things to an African, I don't even think there would be a single thought or consideration for an outside opinion besides the opinion of their own people. And this is what happens when you actually group together, and as a collective you're able to establish yourselves without convincing yourselves that you need something that someone else has. For as long as I would say that this problem has been prevalent, you will never ever want yourself focused on another group of people who have built their wealth, white people who have built their independent power structure far away from societies that exist within colored communities. And then there would definitely be a level to just know yourself when it comes to just being able to kind of understand, why does this degree of insecurity persist to the point where the colored people in America don't even want to identify as colored, where they don't even want to associate with other colored people, to the point where they are left stranded, just roaming around and trying to seek that level of perhaps complacency, or a degree of settling, and it's funny if you actually know the world, because you will understand that it is pretty much, or particularly only, the westernized minded colored people who think that way. It really never dawns upon you how several groups, people who have been raised in Europe, for instance, if the very small percentage, I would say less than 1% of colored people in Europe who have been raised as Europeans, immediately are strong enough and smart enough to understand that the economy is not a economy in which they can lean on and depend on. So you will find that there is a degree of understanding everywhere except for colored people in the Western world, who for some reason seem very broken-hearted when they discover that there are colored people who actually live and are able to function without putting the blame on whites, without putting the blame on anybody else beyond their own incapabilities of reaching the situation, perhaps even the solution, according to their own terms. And I think once you realize the journey that these people, although it's a very small number, as I'm going to note, right? I'm not going to speak as if this is how the group of colored people as a whole think. I think it is very evident that the remaining colored people are still very much in turmoil or in struggle. However, in order to alleviate that struggle, I think it's very much important to learn how not to make that struggle worse than what it is. And the main way to just understand what I mean by that is to, rather than developing a insecurity for your inability to mix with white people, perhaps you can develop a security and a foundation to perhaps even assist your families, assist your communities. And you'll find actually that perhaps more lives will be impacted beyond the selfish nature that most colored people have felt when they feel entitled to something or someone or anything that does not belong to them.